guys, what's going on? You are listening to ThisWeekInGeek.net. I'm your host, Mike the Birdman. Well, I'm alone this week, yet again, but that's okay. A little bit of a programming note. Alex, producer, will not be joining us this week due to a family emergency. Hopefully, things will be okay. As far as I understand, things are good. So if you want to send some good healing vibes to him and his family, that would greatly be appreciated. Any well wishes can be sent to feedback@thisweekingeek.net. I'm sure Alex would definitely appreciate some well wishes from you, the TWIG family that has joined us for the last 17 years. But as we start things off, I'm your host, Mike the Birdman. And while we typically talk about the things that are going on in our lives that the week usually starts out and while this week has been, I don't know, it's been fine. Nothing really to report this week, to be kind of honest, though. However, that being said, I watched one of my first Super Bowls last night, which is kind of the reason why the show's a little bit delayed today, because I wanted to see what some of the new movie trailers were going to be, and I kind of just wanted to talk about my experience with the Super Bowl at large. So watched it last night from start to finish, and I actually kind of gave a shit, and that's weird to say the very least, because I don't know word one about football. Like, I understand bits and pieces of it, but as the vast majority, I really don't. But last night it was the San Francisco 49ers versus the Kansas City Chiefs, and I was cheering for the Kansas City Chiefs because of Taylor Swift. Now, I do not know a single Taylor Swift song by name or by hearing it. I know what she looks like. I only know the name Travis Kelce because of all the media surrounding it, and because I tend to follow a lot of U.S. politics. It was a very interesting week to follow that and the alleged government psyop, which was quite frankly ridiculous to watch from Canada, because let's just say no one's going to lose their mind if Avril Lavigne starts dating somebody famous from, I don't know, the Ottawa Rough Riders or whoever the hell that is. I don't know. But I was very interested to see if things would play out as it was oh so foretold in the Dead Sea Scrolls or something. I don't know. But either way, I had a really fantastic time with it. I watched it with my neighbor, watched it with Blair. Thought the halftime show with Usher was really cool. I think I enjoyed Rihanna's music a little bit more, but I think Usher put on a better show, if that makes any sense. But still, it was really cool. Did not expect the Super Bowl to go into overtime. That was a heartbreaker for San Francisco, I gotta say. That was literally, the game was decided in like 30 seconds. That was intense. Now, I was messaging with my friend Jordan back and forth. He's the president of vice president of the Guelph Storm Trackers, which is the OHL team that I talk about here. And I was just razzing him, saying, oh yeah, I hope the Swifties win, and all this other crap. And it was fun. I'm not gonna lie, I actually had a lot of fun watching the Super Bowl, even though I didn't understand 99% of what was going on. Now, in Canada, we don't get a lot of the commercials just due to advertising, but we saw snippets of them. So, here in the intro here, I'm just going to talk a little bit about some of the things that I saw. And one of the ones that came out earlier in the week was the Paramount Patrick Stewart, where he tries to throw Hey Arnold over the mountain. That was pretty amusing. We also saw another thing for The Fall Guy with Ryan Gosling. That looks really fun. I'm looking forward to seeing that. What else did we see? The series for Knuckles doesn't look as stupid as I thought it was going to. I'd be very curious to know who the bad guy is, like what part of Sonic lore they pulled him out of. But still, I'm in. I love the Sonic. And someone had pointed this out. We're literally getting Sonic 3 and Knuckles this year, which I think this might be like the 30th anniversary of Sonic and Knuckles. So if that's just synergy or timing, I don't know what that is. It looks kind of cool. Also saw the trailer for Wicked with Ariana Grande. And the only reason I know of her is because her brother was on Big Brother, Frankie Grande, like years ago. So go them. Either way, it looks cool. I like musicals, so I'm in. A Quiet Place Day One. I love those movies. John Krasinski does a pretty cool job with those. There was randomly like a Schwarzenegger commercial where he plays like a State Farm agent and Danny DeVito shows up. There was one with like Matt Damon and Ben Affleck where they become like a boy band. That was fine. I thought that was actually pretty funny. The one for Twisters, I think, was some of the most disappointing. And the only reason is I was kind of hoping they would say, hey, you're Bill and Helen's kid or whatever it is, or hey, you're taking up the family legacy or something. But I guess that's too simple and too easy. I'm sure there'll be some explanation in movie, or even if the characters are even connected. But I don't know. I mean, I guess in this era of like The Day After Tomorrow in 2012, Moonfall, we've already seen the biggest disaster porn we possibly can. So I don't know whether Twisters is going to be as groundbreaking as it was back in like 1995, 96 when the original came out, but still cool, I guess. Deadpool and Wolverine. I guess I don't know if that's the official name or if it is Deadpool 3. I did not expect the TVA to be involved. So that's really, really, really freaking cool. That was the highlight for me. No Transformers 1, kind of surprised. I'm guessing they're going to save that for Memorial Day weekend. My guess is we'll see something for that. Cause I guess there's no point in doing like another Ghostbusters trailer or something for Dune. Both of those are literally coming out in like weeks anyway. So cool. I'm in. Party on. And, yeah, that was my experience with the Super Bowl and some of the commercials. Like I said, I had a pretty good time. Love the halftime show. I heard Super Bowl tickets were going for like $10,000 plus, and that's insane. So good for you if you got a chance to go. Oh, and they brought out some kid from the Special Olympics to do something at one point. That was kind of nice. Evidently Bud Light or some beer company was like saying, hey, you're in the Bud fan zone and you were chosen to be here, blah, blah, blah. All right, cool. That's certainly something you're never going to forget. That's definitely one of those once in a lifetime, experiences. So again, good for those fans that got a chance to show up and do that. So yeah, that's awesome. I'm, definitely happy for you. So go Chiefs, I guess. Maybe I'll follow football. Don't know. I mean, I tried to follow basketball after the Raptors won. We saw how well that went, but I was joking with Blair. I think we've now reached that point in our marriage where we watch like every sport. So we followed basketball with the Raptors. We follow baseball because we go to the Guelph Royals games here during the summertime. We follow hockey because of the Storm, and we go and we're pretty actively involved. Football, we've had a passing interest in. But now, we've watched the Super Bowl and we don't know who to follow. And there's always like, can you get the right game if you have like the right cable package or something? So I don't know. Maybe I'll get Jordan to explain it to me next year. Or old friend of the show, Ryan. I know he's a pretty big football fan. I should really return the phone call we've been trying to make for like a year now. Like, all right, cool. Teach me. But anyway. So anyway, what's going to happen in this show? You are going to hear a more traditional show this week. There are going to be 3 reviews. There's going to be one from me, which is going to be the Alien Building Better Worlds source book, which you can get for the Alien role-playing game right now. Hint, it's awesome. And we're also going to be taking a look at a couple different reviews from Alex. So speaking of that, we're going to throw things to one of Alex's reviews right now. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the news that is and was this past week. And yeah, so this is ThisWeekInGeek.net. I've been your host, Mike the Birdman. We'll be back right after this, only on ThisWeekInGeek.net.
Super Earth, our home, our way of life. But freedom doesn't come free.
No! Sweet liberty! No!
Look familiar? Scenes like these are happening all over the galaxy right now. And you could be next. That is, unless you make the most important decision of your life. Prove to yourself that you have the strength and the courage to be free.
Join the Helldivers.
experience true freedom.
Requesting air support!
The freedom to travel the galaxy and secure the resources we need to build a better tomorrow. The freedom to encounter fascinating life forms and introduce them to our sophisticated technology. The freedom to make new friends and represent the best of what Super Earth has to offer. Become part of an elite peacekeeping force and work together to spread prosperity, liberty, and democracy. Become part of something larger than yourself. Become a hero. Become a legend. Become a Helldiver. Becoming a Helldiver may result in decapitation or mortification. Not all Helldivers survive.
Alex, the producer here, and I am checking out. This is a first impressions video of the newest release. Our friends over at Sony Home Entertainment for PlayStation 5 sent Helldivers 2. Now, this is something interesting. They sent over both PS5 and PC codes for Steam. This is something that we've never seen before. It's the first time that Sony has done this, where they're doing a day-and-date release for an exclusive, or it's not a first-party. I believe it's developed by a company that isn't first-party, but it's a first-party owned property. Whatever. It's an exclusive console game that they've developed that is also available on PC day-and-date. So I've had a chance to install, and the game on PC isn't, I would say, overly crazy when it comes to what it expects you to have hardware-wise. I've actually been playing it on two different PCs of somewhat similar build. I'll give you an idea. They're not high-end PCs. I have my main PC in the bedroom, which is what I've done for a long time now for indie gaming or whatever games that we review on PC that we don't normally have like a lot of, options for when it comes to console, because we're generally more console people. But it's a Ryzen 3600, which I believe right now is, I think, the most standard, if not the most, it's like one of the top 3 CPUs people use on Steam. So it's pretty standard, mid-range from a few years ago. It's getting on 5 years almost now. But I've got an Intel Arc A380 in there, which is a decent 1080p video card that can do some ray tracing. And it's, I am all in on the Intel because I like it for the media capabilities of encoding versus just gaming, but it works just fine. This computer has 32 gigs of RAM. Beyond that, 2.5 gigabit Ethernet. I don't have Wi-Fi in the bedroom here, but it's wired in directly. And the other computer that I was testing it on is the media PC in the living room that I built to replace my home media center equipment I've been using for a long time so that I could get full AV1 support. And that is a 12th gen i3, was it 12100? So a quad core i3, basically entry level gaming GPU or CPU, with the Intel Arc A310, the entry level card there. So that is more of a 720p / 1080p medium, but also still has the RT cores, which is hilarious. That you can get that for under $200. And that computer is running on SSDs. It has 2.5 gigabit in it as well. I'm also got a Wi-Fi 7 card in there, so potentially 5.8 gigabit connectivity, low latency. But for the sake of gaming, whenever I have to review anything gaming-wise, I try to keep myself wired into the 2.5 gigabit. I should note that I do have consumer internet that is, I'm paying for 1.5 gigabit, but I actually get about 1.8. Now it's downstream. Upstream, it's only 50 meg because, at least in Canada, you can't really get symmetrical or fast upload speed. You can get really fast download speed for cheap, but not fast upload. That being said, it's pretty much the best you're going to get for residential internet in a city in Ontario. So I've got pretty much the ideal solution. And I had no problems connecting there. And then playing it on PS5, I was able to connect. Graphically, it looked better on my PS5 because obviously it's significantly more powerful. The video cards that I have are more akin to last generation consoles, or in the case of The bedroom PC, the A380, is closer to what you'd see actually on like an Xbox Series S. So it's still technically this gen. It can still do RT Core stuff. It's just not going to be able to push what the PS5 can do. So it just gave me a chance to sort of try everything out on 3 different pieces of hardware, 2 PCs and the 1 PlayStation. And we're going to be playing more probably over the next few months, as this game is a live service game with the rest of the TWIG crew as we've got more codes. I believe Birdman has his own too. So I've had a chance to play online. I played a little solo. I played a little bit, with random people joining in, and I had a pretty good time. It's like, what if you mixed Starship Troopers with its own little property, like that sort of tongue-in-cheek humor with like just killing bugs, a little bit like what is it, Earth Defense Force kind of. Although it's pretty hard. Like even in the tutorial, I found myself dying a bunch of times till I realized, I'm supposed to press this button and crouch and run and jump and move over things and be conservative with my ammo. But I was able to do a few solo missions, got my trophies to show that, hey, yes, I'm able to do this. And I had a blast. Like, it's very smooth running. I didn't have any connectivity issues. Latency was good. I didn't have like any input lag. I didn't play for the first bit with microphones on, but then I joined in and played a couple randos, and I'm having a good time with it overall. The mission structure is interesting. How you call down your supports are like, you'll enter into a command and you have to enter like almost like an NES code, like up, down, left, right. And that will call in either support ammo, support people, different weapons, and a special ordnance attack. And it's the same thing when you're doing your missions. Sometimes it's like, go to this area and program this computer to call down something. And you got to then hold the line and fight the bugs as they come. And then you'll, inevitably, if you don't have enough people or you're not coordinated enough, you'll die and respawn. And you're all the while, you're trying to take over certain lands and get control of the planets that you're on. And you can see when you finish a mission, did you contribute to the completion of taking over that planet and so on and yada yada. You then go back to your personal ship, which has it's like a hub world with people on it you can talk to that upgrade weapons and loadouts and pick your next missions. And it's all very graphically impressive and still feels very smooth to play. Great music, fun tongue-in-cheek humor when it comes to the script when you hear things voiced over to you. It seems to control quite well. Very impressed with it. It's definitely worth checking out. That's just my first impressions reviews. We'll probably come back and do more coverage later on in the year, or maybe even sooner than that, as we probably gear up and play with more people. But I'm very impressed so far. I'm not a big live service game fan. I'm not a big multiplayer fan, but I definitely could see myself and other people that maybe aren't as big into that genre hopping in here and giving it a try and saying, hey, this is actually pretty good fun.
The Prime Minister of Sweden visited Washington today, and my tiny little nipples went to France.
Gossip, rumors, panic in the streets. We're lucky.
This Week in Geek News.
Hey guys, welcome back to ThisWeekInGeek.net. I'm your host, Mike the Birdman. One thing I forgot to mention during the intro of the show, and I'm not quite sure whether I mentioned this or not, I said on Twitter and on social media in general that if the Kansas Chiefs won, I would be taking a look at Taylor Swift, giving her a try as a musician and a discography. So you can hold me to that. I know I was supposed to do that with the Insane Clown Posse a while ago, but I just kind of forgot about it. So maybe I will be doing an Insane Clown Posse Taylor Swift Juggalo mix on Spotify. Hell, if you want to throw that together for me, show me the best of the Insane Clown Posse and Taylor Swift, that is a challenge. Please let me know. Feedback at ThisWeekInGeek.net. Whoop whoop. And I don't know. That's all I got here. Anyway, I got a couple of different stories for you this week that we're going to talk about and discuss as much as I possibly can. Our first story comes courtesy of Gizmodo. And the story reads, Elon Musk is helping Gina Carano sue Lucasfilm over her Mandalorian firing. This is a lot, so sit down and take a deep breath. Gina Carano, the actress who was fired from The Mandalorian for, quote, social media posts denigrating people based on their cultural and religious identities, is now suing Lucasfilm over discrimination and wrongful termination. And because the comments were made on X, formerly Twitter, Elon Musk is funding the lawsuit. Quote, as a sign of X-Corp's commitment to free speech, we're proud to provide financial support to Gina Carano's lawsuit, empowering her to seek vindication for her free speech rights on X and the ability to work without bullying, harassment, or discrimination, X's head of business operation Joe Burnock said in a statement to The Hollywood Reporter. Carano is hoping to get a court order that would force Lucasfilm to recast her as her character, Cara Dune, as well as punitive damages. Carano was fired in February 2021 after the actress shared, then deleted an anti-Semitic story on her Instagram. It was the final straw after months of statements, including mocking COVID mask mandates, spreading conspiracies about the United States election, liking posts disparaging Black Lives Matter movement, and deriding pronoun usage. Quote, Gina Carano is not currently employed by Lucasfilm, and there were no plans for her in the future, a statement first obtained by IO9 said at the time. Nevertheless, her social media posts denigrating people on their cultural and religious identities are abhorrent and unacceptable. According to Carano, though Lucasfilm claimed it fired her over those statements, she was thinking it was only because she was a woman and male co-stars made similarly offensive posts that were ignored. Some of us have been unjustly singled out, harassed, persecuted, and our livelihoods stripped away because we dared to encourage conversation, ask questions, and refuse to go along with the mob, Carano said in a statement. She's also, as you expect, happy that Musk and X are helping her in the fight. I am honored that my case has been chosen to be supported by the company that has been one of the last glimmers of hope for free speech in the world, Carano said. IO9 reached out to Lucasfilm for potential comment, and we'll update the story if or when we hear back. But yeah, like I said, it's a lot. What are your thoughts? Well, considering Elon Musk, from what I understand, has a history of, not paying legal bills, just getting rid of his safety team, being fact-checked by his own people for making false statements, made a statement about the Great Replacement Theory. I'm not going into that, so don't fucking ask. Yeah, I'm not seeing this going anywhere, so fuck you, Gina Carano, and fuck you, Elon. And I used to be a blue supporter on X, mostly because I saw that as a way to help my reach as a journalist. And then Musk said some very questionable things. I'm like, all right, that's cool. I'm out. You don't get the money anymore. Fuck off. And with Gina Carano, like, lady, you lost. It's time to move on. I'm sorry starring in, like, right-wing movies isn't paying your bills. I think one of her movies that made less than, like, $10,000 on release. I'm sorry, man. You shot yourself in the proverbial foot with the blaster. Like, what do you want? I mean, all you had to do was shut the fuck up. Literally, it was that simple. If you have terrible, horrible beliefs, that's fine and you're entitled to them. Shut the fuck up about them. But it's free speech. You are 100% correct, but not 100% free of consequence. When you say terrible and abhorrent things, people have the right to vote with their wallet, or if you are representing their corporation or their brand or whatever, say, I don't want to do business with you. Now, there's the door. Fuck off. They can do that however they like. That's just how it is. And I think that's how people say that's the free market and free enterprise and capitalism. Fuck, I don't know. Either way, don't be a piece of shit. Bad things won't happen to you. And again, I can only imagine what's going to happen when Carano and her lawyers go to court and this gets laughed out of the courtroom, which it probably will. And when she goes to Musk and say, hey, buddy, I need you to pay these bills. And it's going to be, who are you? It's not going to happen. And if it does, I promise you, it'll be a fraction of what she's actually owed to these lawyers or whatever. I do not see this ending well in any shape or form. Again, I'm not saying you can't challenge things, and I'm not saying you shouldn't have the right to say things, but when you say terrible and horrible things, people are going to judge you upon that. And even if she does get recast as Cara Dune, oh, what happened? You slipped and fell down a reactor shaft, or a thermal detonator goes off in your pocket because the Empire hacked it. Oh, what happened? You randomly got stabbed by a rabid Ewok? They can do whatever. If they wanted to Looney Tunes this shit, if she somehow wins this lawsuit, she gets written back into the show. I hope the most Looney Tunes cartoon hilarity happens, and again, slips on a banana peel, hits a thermal detonator, randomly, Timothy Olyphant's character comes back, kicks her down a reactor shaft to save everybody, and the last shot of Cara Dune is her screaming down a reactor shaft as she blows up. That would be some shit, and let me tell you, appointment viewing. I have nothing against the character itself. I thought the character was actually kind of awesome. A former Imperial shock trooper. That's cool. That's awesome. That's almost harkening back to the role-playing days of West End games. Cool character. Unfortunately, the person playing with you kind of sucks. Now, could you recast the character? Yeah, totally. And I could only imagine what would happen if like that were to happen. But again, you shot yourself in the foot. You held on to the thermal detonator too long. You lost your show, the Republic Rangers, and now, I don't know. I mean, to speak of Disney's Star Wars output, I like most of it, not everything. Like, I thought Ahsoka was fine, if a little bit overhyped, where it kind of felt like Itchy and Scratchy when they had Poochie. Allow me to explain. When they were like, hey, where's Poochie? I wonder what Poochie's doing. And they're all like, oh, Thrawn, he's such a badass. Oh, man, Thrawn's going to destroy us. Oh, man, Thrawn. Like, okay, that's cool. Fucking Mads Mikkelsen finally shows up, and he's like, okay, fine. Hi, I'm evil and blue. Now, I'm the guy who read the Thrawn trilogy back in the 1990s, so don't fucking come at me that way. But it felt like they said too much and didn't show enough. I wanted to see Thrawn being this utter military genius who actually listened to his other officers, because that's what made Thrawn kind of special, is that he wasn't above saying, you know what, allow me to consider your position and adjust accordingly. That's what made him a different and more effective leader than the Emperor or Vader, because he wasn't just randomly murdering subordinates. Now, again, I haven't seen most of Andor. I hear it's fine. Mando I love and probably always will. Bad Batch I fell off after season 1, but I think there's one more season, so maybe I'll have to get around to finishing that. I never did see Star Wars Visions. Again, I really would love to see that. And I guess the last thing I'm going to say on the whole Cara Dune thing is it's really unfortunate because, again, all this person had to do was shut up and not get involved in a conversation, because I'm sure some of our favorite Hollywood stars have some really messed up opinions about stuff, like everybody does. I'm sure there's opinions I have that you guys don't particularly care for. But I understand if you have something particularly messed up, you don't say it. So, I don't know. Long story short, let's see what happens when the invoice comes in. Will the Emperor pay? I'm kind of doubting it. Moving on to our next story. This one's kind of exciting and kind of goes along with the whole Sonic 3 announcement that's supposed to happen around Christmas time, or I think we're going to see it in theaters. Knuckles comes out in April. It's going to be streamed. That's going to be awesome. So this story comes courtesy of GoNintendo.com, and I really hope this is true. So Crush 40's Live and Learn, which is the main theme, the Sonic Adventure 2, will be in Sonic the Hedgehog 3. And my website is frozen, so is my iPad. Oh, there we go. Let's read that. Okay. As soon as the page reloads. Don't you love tech folks? You go to read a story, it's like, oh, hey, guess what? I don't want to work anymore. Tee-hee-hee. Oh my God, did this just crash? Okay, so I'm going to have to reboot that app, and we're going to see what happens when I reload it. So there we go. Oh, there we go. Isn't that great? Don't you love live radio such as it is here on the show? Okay, so Sonic 3 had an information blowout last week, including the blockbuster announcement that Jim Carrey will be reprising his role as Dr. Robotnik. But that's not the only big news, though, as longtime Sonic fans have one major thing to celebrate about the upcoming third film. The teaser for Sonic 3 had some unmistakable notes in its score, and fans were quick to pick up on it. The short trailer that included a bit of the song Live and Learn from Sonic Adventure 2. And Sonic diehards were ecstatic to hear a bit of the tune, even if it was just a few seconds. Of course, that led to the question of whether or not Crush 40's track would be active in the third movie, or if it was just being used for teaser purposes. Rather than just sit around and wander, some fans reached out to Crush 40's Johnny Golele, for some more insight on the matter, and Golili, again, I'm not sure how to say this guy's name, was more than happy to confirm that not only will Live and Learn be in the film, it'll be Crush 40 providing the music. In other words, it seems like Crush 40 will be involved in the third Sonic film in more ways than one. This is actually pretty exciting because I think this really shows that if the fans are passionate and not jerks, you can really affect positive change for your favorite franchise movies. And in Sonic, this is so evident because if we all remember what Sonic used to look like with teeth before the complete CG overhaul of the movie from a couple of years ago, that movie changed radically and they pushed it back and fans were kind of understandably nervous about it. But when it finally came out, we got an amazing, for a video game movie, Sonic, and then the sequel came out and was even better. That was like, wow. And then we got the announcement of a Knuckles series. I think there was like another well-received Netflix TV show. And yeah, that's pretty astounding. And to think that Crush 40, who's provided music for numerous Sonic games, is going to be involved, that's pretty kick-ass. I mean, it's fan service done right. And like one of my favorite songs by them, and I'm 99% sure it's them, was the song from Sonic Free Riders. I know, weird pick, I know. But Sonic Adventure, like, if we can get City Escape in there somehow, some way, that would utterly destroy my life. That would be astounding. But Live and Learn, if that plays over the like end credits or some amazing chase sequence where we get literally a good minute montage of Sonic doing Sonic shit, Knuckles doing Sonic shit, because we're going to see Shadow the Hedgehog. I would like to see a proper Mecha Sonic. Mecha Knuckles would be cool. Like, to give you guys a little bit of history with me and the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise, and I might have talked about this on the show like years ago, but I used to be friends with this guy, and he was like the biggest Sonic, Mega Man, Transformers nerd ever. And some of his fandom kind of leaked over to me, or I liked these things, didn't love them as much as he did. I liked Transformers quite a bit. But he knew everything there was to know about Sonic. He knew everything there was to know about Mega Man. This guy used to write fan fiction that spanned like decades. And I don't want to reveal this guy's name, but he used to write a very long-running Sprite comic that crossed Sonic and Mega Man for quite some time. And this guy was my best friend for many, many years, but we had a falling out around the time of my wedding. But he really made me appreciate what the Sonic universe kind of brought the things. Like, I remember we used to talk about the Sonic Archie comics and stuff like Mammoth Mogul and the Chaos Emeralds and the Chaos Force and all this shit. And he was the first guy who introduced me to the Dreamcast. I remember him loaning it to me for a weekend, but that was I was only allowed to get it for a weekend. So I borrowed his Dreamcast to play Code Veronica, Resident Evil, so I could beat that really quickly. And we used to I remember some of my best memories growing up were going to his place, and we would play Sonic 2 and Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles, and we would always swap between, okay, well, you, like, the rule was he was always Sonic, so I either got to be Tails or Knuckles. And it was fun. That's probably the reason why Tails is probably like my favorite Sonic character. Not the fact that my spirit animal is the fox, but I could see that. But still, just to see this kind of happen, like, I would love to just get a peer into this Sonic fan's mind, just to say, hey man, how does it feel to be vindicated after like 30 years? This year franchise finally done right. And it makes me think of another conversation with like Transformers, how they snuck in the touch into Bumblebee and stuff like that. And just to see how well that franchise has kind of turned itself around, despite Rise of the Beast not doing as well as it should have in theaters. I mean, yeah, it was good. It did pretty good business, but we still don't know whether we're going to get a proper follow-up to it. And I really hope we do. I know Transformers 1 comes out in like September. Speaking of that, I'm kind of surprised we didn't get a trailer for that at the Super Bowl. My guess is we'll see something at the earliest Memorial Day weekend, at the latest Comic-Con. We'll see something for it, because I know there's been a lot of Transformers Reactivate, which is the video game. We've been getting a lot of leaks from that. I know some of the toys are available on shelves. I'm hoping against hope I can find a way to get the Transformer or to get Optimus and Soundwave. Those are the two characters that I really, really want. I typically only collect Optimus and Soundwave designs. If I were to focus on any two characters, especially Soundwave. But still, like, it's a great time to be a fan in like certain fandoms right now. And I really think Transformers is one of them. I know it's celebrating 40 years this year. Sonic fans, you're eating amazing right now. I really hope Knuckles is as awesome as it's going to be. I would die if the Knuckles TV series has references to Knuckles Chaotix. That would be awesome. Am I think it's going to happen? Probably not. But hey, if Sega really wanted to blow up my skirt, so to speak, put Knuckles Chaotix out on the Virtual Console, on the Switch Online. Do that when Knuckles drops. And I think that would be awesome because it's pretty much, it's not like you can't run it on modern hardware. Maybe there's some weird programming thing, but I don't know. I'm not a tech. That's Alex's gig. I don't know. But I think that'd be pretty cool if we could see 32X games out on the Nintendo Switch. I'm just putting that out there. Hell, if you could put Spider-Man Web of Fire, that really rare game too, that'd be pretty awesome too. But anyway, just kind of shouting at the world here. So I got a fairly long article here, and I might just stop reading at some point once the point has been made. But this one comes courtesy of TheWrap.com. The final days of Coyote vs. Acme offers rejections in a Roadrunner race against time. Warner was seeking $75 to $80 million, but rejected offers from Netflix, Amazon, and Paramount, insiders tell The Wrap. In early January, Coyote vs. Acme producer Chris DeFera got a startling phone call from a Warner Brothers executive. They just want to get this behind them, the executive told DeFera. They want to close the books. In the words of the Roadrunner, meep. The movie, a live-action animated hybrid that stars Will Forte and the Looney Tunes gang, had been earmarked for demolition on November 9th. But following the announcement that movie would be canceled, a firestorm of outrage and indignation erupted. It was heightened by a friends and family screening that had already been planned before the cancellation announcement had been made. The screening brought more goodwill and even louder public outcry. What was so exciting is that it felt like the film captured the voice of the Looney Tunes that we love in a way that none of the other feature versions have ever done, says Paul Scheer, who was at that screen, told The Wrap. The last movie to feature the characters of 2021 Space Jam's A New Legacy, which was pillared by critics and lost money. Warner Brothers, reacting to the hubbub, walked back its initial decision. Instead of canceling the movie outright, the studio would give the filmmakers the chance to shop it around. If another studio wanted to pick it up, they could. Now, months later, Warner Brothers has finally had enough, and the call to DeFera made that crystal clear. With Warner Brothers Discovery's fourth quarter earnings call scheduled for February 23rd, Coyote vs. Acme is running out of time. Many on the film's team feel that the studio will use the ending of the quarter to get the movie off the books for good. Coyote vs. Acme is running up against something worse than a tunnel painted into the side of a mountain or a falling anvil. It will finally be silenced by a movie studio's balance sheet. In a truly inglorious, and a source close to the movie doesn't believe Warner Brothers would even announce that they had found a home for the movie, they would unceremoniously delete it, never to be seen again. And then the sub-headline is Offer and Rejections. Following the death and potential resurrection of Coyote vs. Acme, there were screenings for interested parties. According to several people familiar with the situation, Netflix, Amazon, and Paramount screened the movie, which was received well, and submitted handsome offers. Paramount even proposed a theatrical release component to their acquisition of Coyote vs. Acme that would allow for Warner Bros. To save face and, most importantly, let audiences see the movie the way it was meant to be experienced. Warner Brothers did not respond to requests for comment from The Wrap. But Warner Brothers, which stood to make $35 to $40 million on the tax write-down, wanted something in the ballpark of $75 to $80 million from a buyer, and that's more. They wouldn't allow the interested studios to counter Warner Brothers offers. It was a take it or leave it situation. One situation didn't even know they were entering into, insiders told The Wrap. Information about the potential sale of the project got to Eric Baza, actor who provided the voice for several of the characters in the film. In late December, he felt so optimistic, he shared a photo of the movie of Forte and the Coyote, and you can see I guess they're sitting in like a courtroom or something. It said, see you in 2024. Behind the scenes, though, the noose around the movie's neck was tightening. What made the situation even more appalling is that several sources close to the project, the 4 Warner Brothers executives responsible for making this decision, CEO and chairperson of Warner Brothers Motion Picture Group, Michael DeLuca, Pam Adby, along with Warner Brothers Pictures and Animation president Bill Damaski, I think, and embattled and president CEO of Warner Brothers Discovery, David Zaslav, hadn't even seen the finished version of the movie. Zaslav never saw the movie at all. DeLuca and Abby saw a, quote, director's cut, and Damaski saw the first audience preview. Significantly, Coyote vs. Acme was developed and greenlit by the previous regime. The only executive that worked on the movie that is still at the company is Jesse Ehrman. These executives who trumpeted a filmmaker first approach and recently signed big deals with directors like Ryan Coogler and Paul Thomas Anderson, who conspicuously made their deals after the filmmaker-led backlash to Warner Bros. Had subsided, were apparently prepared to trash the movie that they'd never even watched. Even more so, the reason for Coyote vs. Acme's cancellation remains damnably unknowable even to those who made the movie. Publicly, Warner Bros. Blamed the decision on a shifting, quote, global strategy to focus on theatrical releases, and initially indicated that it would take a tax write-off on the film, which is based on a New Yorker article by Ian Fraser from 1990. The problem is it seemed that the movie was not strong enough for a theatrical release, and it didn't fit into anyone's streaming strategy for the Warner Bros. Discovery universe. But there was a precedent. When Warner Bros. Announced that Batgirl, a $90 million superhero movie based on the beloved DC Comics property, would be deleted from existence, a new avenue opened up for the studio. According to a source close to Coyote vs. Acme, getting rid of a wholly finished movie became an acceptable means of dealing with a problem. When they weren't sure what to do with Coyote vs. Acme, which originally had a release date claimed by Barbie, the option to simply disappear was taken, at least for a few days. What made the situation with Coyote vs. Acme more baffling is that, unlike Batgirl, the film consistently received great scores from test audiences. Several Warner Bros. Executives have gone out of their way to claim that Batgirl was unreleasable. That simply wasn't the case with Coyote vs. Acme, but Warner Brothers' proclamation that the filmmakers could take it elsewhere was dubious at best. Back when the announcement was made, the movie wasn't totally dead. A source close to production remembered thinking maybe they'll try to run up the clock. Throughout the process, Warner Brothers refused to share specific details with the filmmakers about the proposed deals, and Warner Brothers' rejection of those deals. Everything was captured through a hazy fog of secondhand phone calls and conversations. There were champions of the project for sure, but they couldn't force Warner Brothers to properly communicate with the filmmakers. Intent to not only offload Coyote vs. Acme, but make a profit while doing so, the studio insisted on a price tag that would cover cost negative plus with what the movie studios and additional Warner Brothers had incurred. They made the short-sighted choice based on a dismal third quarter projects, said a source close to the movie, and reversing that decision to cancel Coyote vs. Acme was simply not possible. Now, 90 days later, with the hashtag Save Coyote vs. Acme hashtag still present on social media, it felt like the end of the line for Coyote and all of his Looney Tunes friends, and bearing a small outpouring of support, or without the big offer in the next few days, that'll be all, folks. Now, someone had posted something really interesting online, and I thought this was actually kind of a cool idea. Mr. Beast, the guy who makes the candy bar, the guy who makes these outrageous giveaways on social media and has his own suburb somewhere, the guy's rich beyond sense. I'm just going to put this out there into the universe. I'm going to echo this person I saw out on Twitter. Dude, if you wanted to do the funniest thing ever, you should buy this. And I'm saying, if you were to start Mr. Beast Studios, and if you could somehow find a way to resurrect Batgirl, you would probably eliminate a good chunk of anybody who's ever talked shit about you. I've got no horse in the Mr. Beast race. Hell, I even retweeted the whole thing where he was testing Elon Musk's X strategy when it came to videos and all that shit. I kind of bought into it. So, I'm just saying, if you're listening, Mr. Beast, and I doubt you are, you should buy this movie for $70 or $80 million, whatever it is. It's going to be a drop in the bucket for the good PR you're going to get out of it. And if you were just randomly to walk up to like Amazon or Netflix, go, yo, give me some money for this and let's work out a deal, you would do astounding things. Or buy this movie, put it in the public domain, and give it to schools. You want to give the biggest middle finger to corporate America? That would certainly be it. And it would be fucking hysterical. And I'm here for it. I totally am. So on that delightful little note, that's going to bring to an end the nerd news only on ThisWeekInGeek.net. And we're going to take a listen to one of my reviews. Speaking of corporate fuckery, though the bad kind, where in space where no one can hear you scream, because you might have to forfeit a share. We're going to take a look at the latest entry into the Alien role-playing game from Free League Publishing. And we're going to take a look at Alien, Building Better Worlds, which is a source book for the Alien RPG. And when we come back, we're going to take a listen and talk about some of the weirdest news stories that happened around the world this past week. So we'll be back, guys, right after this, only on ThisWeekInGeek.net.
Destroying an M-class starfreighter, a rather expensive piece of hardware.
42 million in adjusted dollars. That's minus payload, of course.
The lifeboat's flight recorder corroborates some elements of your account, in that, for reasons unknown, the Nostromo set down on LV-426, an unsurveyed planet at that time, that it resumed its course and was subsequently set for self-destruct by you for reasons unknown.
Not for reasons unknown. I told you. We sat down there on company orders to get this thing, which destroyed my crew. And your expensive ship.
In space, no one can hear you scream, but they can hear you game master. This is Mike the Birdman. I'm here to talk about something really fun we got sent from our friends over at Free League. I'm going to be talking about the Aliens role-playing game, and this is their latest source book called Building Better Worlds. This is a 304-page book, which is available via PDF, and I think the print one's coming up rather soon. So what this is, this kind of explains the geography and the space of the Aliens universe, and was a lot better of a read than I thought it was going to be, because I feel like the Aliens universe has kind of only really fleshed itself out in supplementary media like comic books or audiobooks or novels and stuff like that. Not really accessible to the general public, but as we as role-playing dorks love to devour splat books, well, this certainly fits that niche. So what this is, this kind of explains, like I said, the geography, the space, the colonies, the different corporations, and the different entities that exist in the alien universe, such as the Three World Empire, the Union of Progressive Peoples, and what those places used to be before they became these large superpowers, and even the United Americas, and then discussing some of the history that happened with like space travel, why you don't go beyond the 20 parsec limit, why if you do so, you're on your own. Other things that have happened, like evidently there was like a supernova that happened at one point in the Aliens universe that I had no idea about, that cut off certain places, that introduced like gamma radiation and all this stuff. But they also tell you about other worlds that relate to other campaign material, stuff like Heart of Darkness and Destroyer of Worlds and stuff like that, and new alien bad guys, new equipment. Like, whoever wrote this has done an immense dive into the lore, like expanding upon the 4 movies, but also delving into Prometheus and Covenant, and even stuff like the Colonial Marines video games. Like, one of the things that really impressed me about this book, when you get into some of the equipment and vehicles, they have the Stinger, which was referenced in the Aliens Colonial Marines handbook, but they've got the civilian model here. And the civilian model actually has that goofy capture claw that was on the original toy. The thing where like, you could wrangle like the bull or the scorpion alien toy back when Kenner was producing the line. And then they go into some of the new Xeno variants. They have the bioluminescent alien. You might be saying, well, where the hell was that from? Well, if you remember the Aliens level from Colonial Marines where you're under Hadley's Hope, this is where you find Hudson's body. And there are these aliens that creep around that are bioluminescent because they're radioactive and these things will blow up. But they also talk about there's something beyond the alien queen called the alien empress. They talk about these new proto and perfected hybrids, again, sort of like their own strain of the xenomorph and what you can turn into. And these things are terrifying. There's one of these monsters that can like kiss you and rip off your head or pull off your arm. It's really wild stuff. And I've always loved how Alien, it's an intensely deadly game. You'll be rolling up sheets rather quickly. But they also introduce a new couple of backgrounds and character types. There's like the Wildcatter, which is sort of like your on-the-ground grunt colonist. They talk about the Entertainer kind of character type. And you might think an Entertainer, like, fuck, really? But think about that. When you go out to the frontier, someone's got to keep the morale up. So it could be a singer, it could be a dancer, it could be a bartender, it could be like, a band member. Like, literally, colonies are going to need to have something to keep morale going. But it also talks about how the colonial system works too in the Aliens universe. Like, if you go out, you have to pass all these tests. You have to be useful to the colony, and if you're not, they'll ship you back on the first available transport, and guess who's on the hook for that? They even talk about subcontracting your leases and how the extrasolar colonial administration protects your rights. But if you sell out your subcontract, Wayland Yutani be like, oh man, I don't know whether Mike's going to work out. I'm just going to unplug his hypersleep pod on the way home because it's in his contract. It describes just how brutal the universe can be, and it's kind of astounding. Like, what I like about the Alien source books that I've read so far, the main source books, not the adventure modules like Destroyer of Worlds and Heart of Darkness, is that they are essential. And that's something that I love, is when a source book really expands the universe, gives you material you can work with. And if you really get a group who's really, really invested in the world, when you expand out to campaign play, not just cinematic, you can really feel Alien feel lived in. They tell you the difference between a shake and bake colony and other types of things. Like, you set up an atmosphere processor, it may take decades, but they also talk about worlds that are already ready to go, why you don't find an abundance of alien life. They also talk about the Octurans, which they do talk about in the Colonial Marines manual, if I'm not mistaken of, and have they're written off as propaganda because people just don't believe that there are sentient life out there besides humans. So again, astounding stuff. So can I recommend Building Better Worlds? If you want something to really build out your campaign, if you want to make your worlds feel a little more lived in, and if you're sick of just doing marine fighting characters, you could do something really fascinating, because I really think when the Aliens TV show comes out at some point in the future, it's going to feel a lot like this book. These explorers on these scientific explorer vessels, or SEVs, doing the hard grunt work of the frontier and exploring beyond the 20 parsec limit, seeing what's really out there. And while it may be stuff that can boil off your skin or cook you alive inside your hypersleep pod, it could be huge riches beyond your imagination, but it could also be something dark and terrifying hiding in a cave somewhere. So again, Building Better Worlds from Free League Publishing for the Alien role-playing game most definitely gets a recommendation from us here at ThisWeekInGeek.net.
Wait a sec. You sent them to that ship. You're wrong. I just checked the colony log. Directive dated 6/12/79, signed Burke, Carter J. You sent them out there and you didn't even warn them. Why didn't you warn them, Burke?
Okay, look. What if that ship didn't even exist? Did you ever think about that? I didn't know. So now if I went and made a major security situation out of it, everybody steps in, administration steps in, and there's no exclusive rights for anybody. Nobody wins. So I made a decision, and it was wrong. It was a bad call, Ripley. It was a...
Go crazy?
Don't mind if I do.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together.
Hey guys, welcome back to ThisWeekInGeek.net. I'm your host, Mike the Birdman. All right, it's time to talk about the strange and unusual things that have happened around planet Earth this past week. And we're going to start things off with a Canadian story. This one comes courtesy of the Calgary Herald.com. Man accused of peddling business cards with, quote, free samples of cocaine. A man is facing a half a dozen charges after an apparent bid to boost his drug dealing business by handing out free samples of cocaine at a local casino caught the attention of Calgary police. Police say officers patrolling a downtown casino on Christmas Eve became aware of a card that had been handed out to casino goers. The cards included the name Alex Lee and a small baggie of suspected cocaine attached. Investigators tracked down the suspect via his Alex Lee alias throughout January, gathering evidence and eventually identifying his vehicle. On Saturday, police pulled over a 2020 Toyota Tundra, arresting the drivers. Officers searched the truck as well as a house on Beaconsfield Place Northwest, seizing almost 60 grams of cocaine portioned into individual packages on a digital scale, about $1,280 in cash, and the Alex Lee business cards. Syed Amir Razavai, or whatever, is 30, is charged with 2 counts of drug trafficking, 1 count of possession for the purpose of trafficking, and 3 counts of possession of the proceeds of crime under $5,000. Ravi, whatever, was released from custody and is scheduled to appear in court on February 26. Well, that's certainly one way to get someone's attention, by handing out business cards with cocaine. It makes me think of another story. There was a food truck or something that was dealing drugs or something in Vancouver last year, I want to say it was. And it was to promote safe injection and an untainted supply. Okay, sure. Like I said, I'm all for, safe supply, safe consumption. I don't want to see anybody get hurt. But basically, my big belief personally is do what you can to reduce harm. And obviously make addiction services available, do what you can. But if you insist on consuming, at least be safe about it. Because the amount of people who pass away from tainted drugs and overdoses and whatnot is at an alarming rate all across the world, more or less. I know the big drug right now is meth and fentanyl, and you see a lot of people pass away from that, and you don't know what's in these things. And yeah, there are television shows that could be considered propaganda or, whatever, stuff like Drugs Inc. and any different numbers of shows. I remember there was a show I watched a couple years ago. It was like Gordon Ramsay on cocaine, though not what you might think. And he was just talking about the drug trade and how he found traces of cocaine in his restaurants. And he was like utterly appalled and whatnot. I was like, wow. But no, seriously, like drugs are a big thing. And I get why people deal them, why it's the multi-billion-dollar empire that will never go away. So what are you going to do to stand out? And I guess handing out business cards, I would be very curious to know, I guess I was going to say, how did he get this printed up? But I guess any print shop would do whatever. Vista print now with free Coke. Yeah, that's, it's kind of messed up and kind of funny. Hopefully justice is served to this individual. Hopefully nobody got hurt doing all these things. Long story short, don't do drugs, kids. Be a dare child. Okay, so this next story and the next 2 stories are going to involve animals. One in a fun way, one in a rather strange way. So this one comes courtesy of NBCnews.com. Alex provided this to me the other day. It says, in a list of things you wouldn't expect to see hopping around a Florida apartment complex, a kangaroo would come pretty around near the top. Yep, that's what one astonished resident in Tampa found early Thursday morning, according to aerial night vision footage showing the creature making its way around the pool area. Police also released audio of the unlikely emergency call. 911, do you need police, fire, or medical? The dispatcher asked. The caller replies, I guess police, because there's a kangaroo in my apartment complex. It's kind of a large kangaroo. We've got it closed in the pool gated area, the dispatchers heard to say on the call, updating emergency responders on the case. Earlier this morning, our deputies responded to a call in Tampa for a loose kangaroo where they were able to trap in an apartment complex's pool area. Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office said on Facebook. The sheriff's office added that the agriculture unit reunited the kangaroo with its owner after its proper registration was established and verified. The sheriff's offices didn't say how the kangaroo got free, but it is legal to keep them as pets in Florida with the right permit. The Tampa Bay Times reported that its name is Hopper. Kangaroos, marsupials native to Australia, can grow to almost 6 feet in height and can weigh nearly 200 pounds. Jesus Christ, I didn't realize how big these things got. That's weird, to say the very least. I would hope this animal has proper care and, I mean, I guess if it's got the proper permits, I guess that says something, but, you think of shows like Tiger King and Joe Exotic keeping large predatory cats. And I seem to recall a story, again, just tangent. There was a large cat sanctuary near, not too far where I live here in Guelph, where they had animals that were potentially getting too close to the road or something. I know me and Alex reported on it like about a year ago, maybe even 2. We were talking about it. I mean, I guess a kangaroo, all things in the tier list of dangerous creatures, probably pretty low on the list. But I don't know. I guess if those things kick you, you're in for a bad day. But still, it's wild that some of the things that people keep as pets. Mind you, when I get bored and I look on YouTube, I do see some really interesting pets, and I do get kind of ideas. There was one person who was keeping a pet skunk. Like, they removed its, scent gland so it can't, spray you and all that shit. And they are adorable. And although the thing is, these creatures like to dig, so you really have to have a house a house and property where they can properly dig, and you can let them roam and have them a good life, but they look adorable. There are also people who keep foxes as pets too. I follow quite a number of fox sanctuaries on YouTube, and I love them. There are people who keep raccoons as pets. My grandmother claimed at one point she had a pet raccoon, and considering some of the videos I've seen, I could believe it. And they look adorable. Actually, just literally as we're preparing the show here, I was checking some show notes, and I saw a guy on Instagram, and he has this pet raccoon driving with him in his truck or something, and it's just kind of hanging out. So I do love exotic pets when they're well kept. I mean, obviously, whatever side of the debate you fall within, as long as they're well taken care of. I mean, obviously, certain animals shouldn't be kept. There's one person, I think they're in Russia or something. They have a panther, and it's obviously a big boy with these giant murder mittens, but it looks like it's very domesticated. But you have to remember, these are wild animals, and I'm not saying they're going to turn on you in a heartbeat, but it could. So I don't know. Again, I'm considering kangaroo pretty low tier in the creatures that are going to murder you category, but still, that's pretty messed up. But still, go Florida, I guess. And this last story, again, we travel back to the Sunshine State. And this story comes courtesy of The Guardian. Florida lawmaker says bill to loosen rules on killing bears is aimed at the ones that are on crack. Perhaps he got a free sample from that person in Calgary. So, a Florida lawmaker is seeking looser regulations on the killing of wildlife, has claimed that black bears high on crack are breaking into people's homes and, quote, tearing them apart. The allegation from Republican State Congressman Jason Schoaf, whose biography reveals a passion for hunting, is bizarre even by the already unorthodox standards of Florida, which in recent times has boasted about cocaine sharks and marauding herpes-ridden monkeys. Quote, we're talking about the ones that are on crack, and they should break down your door, and they're standing in your living room growling and tearing your house apart, Schoaf told a meeting of the Florida Legislative House's Infrastructure Strategies Committee, discussing House Bill 87, which would remove most of the penalties for killing bears without authorization. When you run into one of these crack bears, you should be able to shoot it, period. You shouldn't have to pause or be afraid you're going to get arrested or harassed or pay fines. That's just crazy. The Guardian was unable to find a documented incident of any Florida's estimated population of 4,050 black bears having ingested crack, and Schoaf did not return a request for clarification. His colleagues, however, appeared swayed by his argument and advanced the bill on party lines for a full House hearing. A parallel bill in Florida's Republican-dominated Senate is also making progress, increasing the chances that permits required for killing bears under certain conditions may soon be dropped, along with an obligation that the state's Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, FWC, investigate all bear deaths. Schoaf arguing that his taking of bears bill is not about bears. He said its protections against animal cruelty and baiting would remain. He accused critics of fear-mongering and insisting his target was nuisance bears, increasingly encroaching on residential neighborhoods in search of food, posing an elevated risk to humans and pets. But opponents say the bill would allow people to kill bears even if no threat exists. Then argue self-defense because they know FWC would no longer have authority to investigate. An online petition against the bill by wildlife advocacy group One Protest has amassed almost 20,000 signatures and takes aim at what it says are some of Chauve's assertions. He says that under current law, you can't kill a bear in self-defense unless the bear enters your home. That is untrue, Adam Slaginski, the group's executive director, said in a message accompanying the petition. We already have a right to self-defense against any person or animal that we kill because we reasonably believe our lives or loved ones, pets included, are in danger. His description of bears, of course, is grossly exaggerated. Bears are not the man-eating monsters he would like you to believe they are. FWC figures appear to back him up. The commission recorded only 3 incidents of physical contact between black bears and humans in 2023, all in the northeast or north central Florida. While it is rare for bears to injure people in Florida, people have been bitten and scratched by bears defending themselves, cubs, or food sources, the commission said in online advice. Even though they are typically quiet and shy animals, they have the potential to seriously harm or kill people. Black bear sightings in the state are prevalent from beaches to downtown shopping areas. One was found last year roaming around Florida's most popular tourist attraction, Disney's Magic Kingdom in Orlando, before being trapped and returned to the wild, which I think we did cover on this show. The creatures, the FWC says, are generally quiet and prefer to avoid human encounters unless they feel threatened or cornered. No fatal bear attack on a human has ever been recorded in Florida. In 2015, wildlife officials brought the state's controversial first black bear hunt in 20 years to a premature finish where almost 300 were killed in only 2 days. Despite his promotion of the bill, Schoaf maintained he had nothing against black bears. We love bears. Bears are cute and cuddly and an amazing creature. This is about nuisance bears that has become conditioned to come into people's homes. You've heard it time and time again. Bears are shy and scared and they are timid. They stay away. That's true, but these are not the bears we are talking about in this bill. This is fucking stupid. Like, seriously, you're talking about crack bears, which probably don't fucking exist, you bloody lunatic. You just want to kill things. Again, I'm not sure any government or official's going to say, hey, there was a bear in my backyard. He tried to eat my little puppy or something, and you blow it away. They're not going to say, oh man, you're in the wrong here. Like, yeah, the Fish and Wildlife Commission is going to investigate and say, okay, cool. Yeah, that's what happened. Or you're out hunting and something happens. Again, self-defense. Like, if you're clever, you don't have to worry about anything. Instead, this guy's like, hey, it's a bear. Let's shoot it. Kill it. It's like quite literally the South Park of it's coming right for us. Like, this is, oh my God. Again, I have to ask Florida, are you okay? Like, really? You good? Do you want to sit down, go out, have a drink, talk? Because you got some issues, dude. I'm just saying. So anyway, we're going to take a look at one last review from Alex, and then we're going to begin to close out the show. So thank you for joining me here on this edition of the Weird News, which has involved drugs and bears and kangaroos. It's been a weird week, but when isn't it? We'll be back, guys, right after this, only on ThisWeekInGeek.net.
Our friends over at OnePlus had sent a care package of new phones and accessories earlier in the month for us to check out, and the last item that I haven't reviewed or had a chance to discuss here before was the OnePlus 12R. Earlier in the month, you heard me discuss at length in a more extended review the OnePlus 12, which is their flagship phone. This is the R series is their mid-range phone. So what they've done is taken a slightly different approach than other companies, where they'll have mid-range chips that they use that are specifically made for mid-range phones. What they've done is they've taken sort of what was last year, last 12, 16 months flagship chipsets and put that in their mid-range phones, which usually other companies don't do for a couple of years. So what you're getting here is a significant, price cut using last year's tech for roughly half the price. Depending on if you're buying it from them directly or if you're getting from, one of your phone carriers. The OnePlus 12, it has an MSRP of $1,200 Canadian. You can see it on sale right now for a little over $1,000, $1,050, $1,060, somewhere in that range. And the OnePlus 12R has an MSRP of $669, putting it right there in the sweet spot where a lot of companies, if you're looking to get one on like a tab or something to that extent, it's generally easier to get with either zero money down per month or maybe $10 on your tab per month. Sort of right priced in there with some of the lower end Samsungs, which are not nearly as powerful, or more like the Google Pixel A series, which my previous phone before using these was the Pixel 6a, which was priced pretty much exactly at that same price point when I got it. So what do you end up getting here versus the full-fledged phone or the full-fledged flagship phone? There are some caveats. There's some cut down aspects of it to hit that mid-range price point, mostly in that the screen is ever so slightly smaller, 6.78 inches versus the 6.82. Holding them side by side, I don't even really notice it. Resolution wise, you end up with 1440p on the 12 that I was using for the last few weeks, and you end up with it's more than 1080, but it's not quite 1440. It's somewhere in between. It's an odd resolution, 2780 by 1264, I think, which equates to 450 ppi versus the 510, which is pretty darn close and almost indistinguishable, especially when using the 12. I generally turned it down to a lower resolution, which was an option, which kind of matches what's in the 12R, mostly for battery life. The differences between the two, other than that, are it has the same one of the same cameras in the back. The different camera makeup is as such. In the full-fledged, high-tier phone, you're looking at 50 megapixel plus a 48 megapixel plus a 64 megapixel. And the makeup is that same 50 megapixel, but then it drops to an 8 and a 2, which is still pretty good for a mid-range phone. A lot of them either have 1 or just 2, but they don't usually have a 50 megapixel as their main point and shooter. As far as the front camera, you drop from 32 megapixel, which was wildly crazy that it was that big, I think, honestly, down to 16, which is more than most that have either a 4 or an 8 still in the mid-range phones, especially for front-facing cameras. Battery life is actually slightly better. It's a slightly larger battery, and in playing with it, and using it, especially for gaming and that, I found that it had a little bit better battery life. It's negligible unless you really want to go in and tweak some settings, especially since what they're marketing this phone towards is really being a gaming powerhouse for people that want to do more multimedia and gaming on it than using it for phone / photography and recording. So if you're looking for something to record like 4K, 8K video, really high-end camera work, as well as like larger storage space and just having a really super amazing screen, then you're looking at the OnePlus 12. If you're looking for like something to work with most pretty much any Android game you throw at it, as well as streaming services like GeForce or tethering things to it that way, or in my case I was using Microsoft's Game Pass and playing things through the cloud that way, streaming it to it, and it worked phenomenal because it has a really good chipset, it has a really good wireless capabilities, and just latency was really low. It was a really good experience, almost indistinguishable between them. Ever so slightly more powerful, I guess, on gaming wise on the 12, but you get a little bit reduced performance because it's generally playing them at a higher resolution with a little bit less battery and yada yada. So there's a bit of a trade-off. I understand why they're saying that, hey, this is the gaming powerhouse. That's what they're marketing it as with the 12R, because it's kind of everything you'd want from a phone when it comes to the gaming aspect, and just ever so slightly cut when it comes to some of the features for camera work or some of the more advanced screen features. Beyond that, it comes pretty much standard with 128 gigs of storage. Depending on your carrier, you might have slightly different options there, whereas the higher end OnePlus 12 is configurable up to 512, which is what I had in the version that I was using. Beyond that, they use the same operating system. Android 14 is the base, with Oxygen OS as their custom UI they put over it, which is actually pretty usable and not intrusive or too much of a bothersome skin, which other phones have had in the past. It feels almost vanilla with just some tweaks to it that way. The main difference here is RAM-wise. You've got 8 gigs of RAM versus 16. And again, you may have some configurable options depending on the carrier you go with, but that's sort of the base standard. Also, the main difference is the CPU chipset in the 12, the flagship version, is the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. and it's the Gen 2, which was the flagship until the 12 came out this past month or so. So you've still got pretty much a top-of-the-line chipset in there that is well beyond what most phones, even some high-end phones from like any competitor basically are using at this time. It is a octa-core, 3.2 gigahertz, all the different chipset features you could possibly want. The graphics is the Adreno 740, and it's all ever so slightly one tick or so below what's in the 12 flagship, but you're saving basically half the price. So it depends. If you're looking for gaming wise, this is the one to go with, because you're only going to get diminishing returns for the amount of money you're going to spend to upgrade all the way up to the 12. If you're looking for something to be your photography and videography powerhouse, or have a ton of extra storage space, that's when you want to make the jump up to the 12, which I'm happy with either or. If you are looking for something that can really perform with any game that you throw at it, you want to throw on one of those like backbone telescopic controllers so you can have full analog sticks and everything, or connect it to use with a streaming service or any other high-end games, emulators you want to throw on it, this will run absolutely everything under the sun at full speed, and probably even with enhanced graphics beyond what most of your phones in the past have run. So if that's the case, then I really do recommend it. And if you're not somebody who has a ton of money, sitting around that you can drop over $1,000 on a phone to go with a flagship phone, the 12R is pretty close to a flagship phone at half the price.
And that's the kind of show it has been here on ThisWeekInGeek.net this past week. So hopefully next week we will be back to normal. I know next week is Family Day here in Ontario, which means I'm at a hockey game. So I am gone, and next weekend is, well, technically Valentine's Day weekend. I mean, I know Valentine's Day is on Wednesday, but, the weekend. So I'll have to wait and see what happens. I will ask for some time off. I know the weekend of the 24th and 25th is Pokemon Go's Global Sinnoh Tour, which I'm definitely playing. So I probably won't be around that Sunday because I'll be in the car for like a million hours. But hopefully we'll do a show that Monday, I guess. So yeah, just trying to think what else to kind of tell you guys. I guess there's not a whole lot going on. I know I got some more shows recorded with David Denoyer of Do You Even Movie. Mia, Aaron, and Alex recorded a couple of we recorded a Loose Cannon, a Future Imperfect. I know this week I'm pretty light on recording just because of Valentine's Day, and I have a bunch of City Hall stuff to do this week. So yeah. But as always, guys, if you want to send some well wishes to Alex, it would really mean a lot to me if you guys could say, hey, man, I hope you're doing all right. Hope you and your family are doing good. Send lots of healing vibes and positive energy over to him. It would really mean a lot to me personally. So feedback at ThisWeekInGeek.net, or reach out on social media at ThisWeekInGeek. Again, just send him some well wishes, please, guys. It would mean a lot. So I'm going to take a break and edit this thing. So I will catch you guys again next week right here on ThisWeekInGeek.net, and hopefully you'll hear me and Alex next time. So anyway, guys, take care. Have yourselves a fantastic week, and as I'm often fond of saying when I sign off this show, be excellent to each other. We'll talk to you guys again next week right here on ThisWeekInGeek.net.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
Thanks for listening to this episode of This Week in Geek. Hungry for more? Check out our website at ThisWeekInGeek.net. You can subscribe to the podcast, browse our Twitter and Instagram, and leave your thoughts on today's topics. If you'd like to give us some feedback, send us an email at feedback@ThisWeekInGeek.net. Tune in next time, and remember,
Lower your shields and surrender your listenership.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Thank you for your cooperation. Good night.